And what are you talking about? You've never made reference to the actual games? Well, that's practically all I've done. Come to think of it, do you realise how pathetic we've become now that we're arguing about who's made the better argument? You've stopped arguing about the series altogether and switched to insulting me and simply claiming, I'm right, you're wrong. You know what, why don't we involve other people? Share this argument and ask others who they think makes the strongest case. Outside opinions would be unbiased and impartial, and that would be largely swayed by whoever put up the better fight. I could make a quick video posting the topic for those who are interested. Then it will be clear who's right and who's wrong. And I feel like we've shared a weird bond of sorts over the course of this argument, so I know you can trust me when I give you my very solemn public word not to mock you or deliberately say anything in said video that would turn anyone against you. If I do so, I will post a humiliating home video of myself as self-punishment. Deal? Oh, hi. Well, I guess you know what this video is about then. Okay, please don't leave just yet. Let me explain what the point of this video is. Okay, so basically I was flicking through comments of one of my videos for the sake of another video that I'm making when I came across an old argument between me and a guy called TerminalStillness, as he's known on YouTube, or Mike Pena, as you'll see here. And yeah, he had these arguments, these very wild theories from my perspective about the Kingdom Hearts series that I would constantly counter and argue with because I heavily disagreed with them. And I just decided, it's been months, it's been ages, I wonder if this guy still believes all this. So I went to his channel and I posted a little innocent comment asking him, how's your knowledge of the Kingdom Hearts series been? Little did I know what this would result in. And so started a massive argument that lasted over 50 replies that it's even still going on. As you can see, the argument has met the fate of many an internet argument and has just dissolved into a big mess, but it's such an interesting argument, honestly. I loved it. As I got into it, I really started to think this is seriously one of the most craziest and memorable arguments I've ever had. So I kept a record of it. I actually started taking screen caps of the whole argument after a while, and now it's at the point where I think, you know what, I want to share this. You guys have to see this. If you don't want to, I understand. This is a really sad video, I know. It's just two guys arguing on the internet. If you don't like it, then by all means click away and wait for me to upload something you'll care about, and I understand. It's fine. But for those who have the time and patience, we could really use a bit of an outside input on this. Not just to determine, like, you know, the truth of the matter, like who's right in the argument sense, but also who's actually been arguing the best case, who's actually been backing up their point of view with the strongest evidence and inputs. And, of course, proof, which we just can't seem to decide on what the exact definition of that is. It's just getting into a really repetitive amount of insults where I just mock him and he just tells me that my evidence is hearsay, and it's just getting tiresome. So I think it'd be a bit fresh if I shared it with you guys and asked you what you thought. So there is a link in the description to the argument, but for some more amusement and entertainment, I'm going to read out every single comment myself in this video, and it's probably going to be a long one. I might even have to split it into two parts because this is a long argument. You don't even have to sit through the whole thing, okay? You don't have to sit through any of it. By all means, walk out if you don't want to, but this is just for your entertainment, if you want, and for your interest, because for those of you who are on the fence about the subject of the argument, which is largely Xion from the Kingdom Hearts series, yeah, this is a Kingdom Hearts argument. Yeah, this could be also a bit of education for you. So you know, it's up to you, and if you want, you can get involved, but this is an argument between the two of us, and it's not private. It's not like I'm revealing this argument, which was previously just between the two of us. This has always been public. It's on the discussion page of Mike Pena's channel, so anyone can go along and see it, and even get involved if you want. I'm not asking you to, but I'm neither going to hold you back. So, as for whether or not Mike Pena's okay with me making this video, well, he did say afterwards that I could involve whoever I want. They'll make the same arguments and I'll retort with actual facts in the game instead of hearsay journal entries. Well, okay, I'll take that as a yes. So let's get into it. Let's read through this argument and, well, hold on to your hats. It's going to be a long, long ride. Couple of notices before we begin. This is a clean channel. I do not swear in any of my videos. My videos do not have swearing in them, but Mike Pena does swear, so I've taken the liberty of censoring those swear words, and as I read them out, I will replace them with family-friendly replacements. So that should be a bit of fun. Another thing is, try not to be biased. My name is Jack, by the way, so if you like me, that's great, but don't stop it. If you don't know me at all, then hi. Enjoy the video, please, and thank you for taking the time and patience to watch this. Alright, so with that all said and done, let's get into it. So as I said, the whole thing started when I went on Mike Pena's channel and asked him the question, how's your knowledge of the Kingdom Hearts series been? And Mike Pena replied, better actually, but I still stand by Xion being Vanitas. Yeah, that's my Mike Pena voice, by the way. I promise not to mock him, and that's what I'm going to do, so this voice is fairly normal, I hope. So I replied, "Alright, I need to hear this one in full. Explain it to me. Explain it all and don't miss a single detail." That, of course, he replied and said, "Actually, it's pretty simple. On one of the last scenes in Dream Drop Distance, I think it was, Riku had to answer questions asked by Ventus, but the only one that was there was Ventus twice. Roxas was not, because they both had Ventus's suit on. Then when he got to the third question, it was Xion. Since Vanitas doesn't have an identity anymore due to being in fractions, not destroyed, he comes up as her. It's a red herring in writing, typically to have those kind of errors." Huh, you know, listening over to that voice, I didn't actually mean to make him sound English, but oh well, let's just roll with it. So I replied, of course, afterwards, "No, that first one was Roxas. Riku identifies him as Roxas, and he's clearly wearing Roxas's clothes. Jesse McCartney even did a brilliant job in differing the voices to make the distinction between Roxas and Ven clear. Nothing ever came up afterwards that said or even implied otherwise. As for Xion, similar case. She's clearly Xion, not Vanitas. Vanitas wouldn't even be there in the first place. I have no idea what you're talking about when you say fractions. Xion is established to be the third person within Sora quite clearly through Sora's dreams earlier in Dream Drop Distance, and even since the ending of 358 over 2 days. Vanitas has never been suggested to be within Sora, and has by all indications been destroyed until further notice." I'm a bit disappointed. I thought you'd have more than this. I did ask him not to miss out a single detail, but then he replied saying, "How about the fact that there's going to have to be a 13th member in Xemnas' crew?" Crew. "And I'm pretty sure it's going to be Vanitas, as the KH crew has to find Aqua and Terra and then wake up Ventus. Vanitas is not destroyed. I'm telling you because Ventus would cease to exist. Period. Vanitas was just broken into tiny pieces, therefore Ventus' heart was shattered. If you even begin to say that Roxas can gain his own body and fight in Sora's world, you'd be wrong." Well, I'm not sure where that came from, but alright. So that was the way that part of the argument went. By the way, I did say I'm not going to mock him, and I intend to keep that up, but you are hearing this from my perspective, so I will throw in comments about the way I see things, and I'm sorry for that, but as long as I don't, like, make fun of him or insult him, then we're good, okay? Anyway, I continued to say, "I didn't say there was no chance of Vanitas coming back. Heck, I'm betting it all that he'll be in the new organisation, but factually, at the moment, he's dead, as far as we know, currently. For one thing is for certain, Vanitas, wherever he is not Xion. And another thing, Vanitas' destruction would not be the death of Ven. Ven can survive without Vanitas. Vanitas can survive without Ven. It was the fake Keyblade that forged it with their hearts that their existences were tied to. When Ven destroyed that, it would have destroyed both of them, if not for Sora saving Ven. And what do you mean Sora's world?" Honestly, I don't like that comment. I don't think I argued my case very well. But then he replied and said, "Ventus could only survive without Vanitas because of Sora. Before Sora was supposed to have been born, he filled in Ventus' heart until it healed enough for him to become functional. Then it happened again after Ventus went into that coma, and Sora was a child. Happened twice. He's not dead. He still is and always will be inside Ventus. Ergo, Xion is a product of that. In turn, she is Vanitas' conscience." You're going to hear a lot of arguments like that, trust me. And then I said, "It's true that Vanitas' birth nearly killed Ventus due to having so much of his heart ripped out like that, but after Sora fixed Ventus up, Ven was fine. Honestly, how does your mind even make sense of that? Vanitas' birth nearly killed Ven, so if he died, Ven would die? They became independent from each other really quickly, only tied to each other after forming the Keyblade. Until then, either one of them could die and the other would be fine. You don't have any proof, that's the bottom line. Even if you had proof that Vanitas was still within Ven somehow, which has never been stated, there is absolutely nothing that ties him to Xion. I'm sorry, but please understand, that is something you've completely made up. Nobody else believes that because it's simply not true." And Mike Pena came back with, "When they forged the Keyblade, it melded their hearts together. However, their consciousness was not melded together. This is why it would actually matter if Vanitas died. They hadn't fully finished even making the Keyblade. Axel even questioned the validity of what Xemnas was saying about Xion and how she came about. This is in 358 over 2 days. Well, we certainly jumped from one thing to another, and I replied with, "First things first, the Ven Vanitas thing is an assumption on your part. Nobody actually said that. On to Xion. Look, that's not proof. You've made a wild, almost random connection based on the barest of hints and possibilities despite the overwhelming evidence against your argument and in favour of another. Alright? Even if the canon explanation for Xion's existence, which I'm about to explain, wasn't true, you still have absolutely no solid proof to support your outlandish theory. And please don't take my choice of words the wrong way, I'm being sincere. 358 over 2 days went on to explain that Xion is a replica, barely even a she. She was a replica that wasn't based off anyone, not a copy of anyone. She was like a doll with no features. That's why her face is blank and she always has her hood up at the start of the game. At that point she wasn't even a she was an it. Xion was designed to copy Roxas's powers. Xemnas, Sayax, and Vexen planned to use her to duplicate the Keyblade, so they'd have two Keyblade wielders in their ranks for gathering hearts. This is why she obtains a Keyblade after spending time with Roxas, and why Riku calls her Keyblade a sham. It was a second-hand Keyblade copied from Roxas. It wasn't expected when Xion started copying more than Roxas's powers. As Roxas was taking in Sora's loose memories, Xion did the same thing. The memories quickly shaped her, giving her an identity and an appearance. That is why she started to look like a black-haired Kairi. Kairi is Sora's strongest memory and among the first to fade. So that's a big mouthful and full of lots of complexity. Wouldn't expect anything less from the Kingdom Hearts series though. Never made an argument about the Kingdom Hearts series. And Mike Pena, of course, wasn't going to take that, and he replied with, "The reason she had no face was because Vanitas had no identity after he was shattered into a million pieces. I understand that you don't know how to read a narrative and spot a red herring when there's one right in front of you, but that doesn't make me wrong. Being invested in one isolated thing doesn't make you more informed than me on how to read it. The battle between Vanitas and Ventus, and Vanitas and Aqua, was going on at the same damn time. Vanitas told Ventus to join him so they can finish the Keyblade. You don't have the perception of time in that narrative because one happens after the other according to gameplay, but the way the story was told, they didn't finish even coming together as it was just their heart that melded, not their souls." Yeah, he has a lot to say on the matter as well, so I replied with, "No, the battle between Vanitas and Van happened after the battle with Aqua. But more importantly, you have absolutely no proof for your argument, while I have all the proof of the series for mine. Stop skirting around that. Seriously, I'm trying to help you. You're so badly mistaken that you're going to be completely lost in Kingdom Hearts 3. What on earth is your proof that this is a red herring? How do you intend to counter all the evidence that Xion is not Vanitas?" In response to those questions, Mike Pena replied, "Completely lost? No, I know how to read a narrative. The game is most likely going to focus on them finding Ventus a portion of the way. This is where Aqua's Keyblade comes into play. My proof was what Axel said to Xemnas about replicas not being able to steal memories. What characters say matters in narrative. I don't think there's any scientific procedures in that world for that even to be possible, but that's only speculation. Look, if I don't get lost reading something surreal, like Inception, a Dave Lynch film, or a Louis Buñuel, I don't know, I've not actually seen, I don't know how to say that, Buñuel film, then I definitely won't get lost with this scarf." And I replied, "That is not proof. It does not prove anything, nor did it even happen. Axel never had a conversation with Xemnas in 358 over 2 days, and he never said that. Please, actually prove your theory, every detail. Give me the how and the why. Give me the evidence. Until you do, it doesn't make any sense." So, to make sense of that, Mike Pena replied with evidence, which is in fact a Kingdom Hearts remix video, all the cutscenes of the 358 Days movie part of it. And he said, "Inquiries about Xion forming her own identity are at 2 hours 15 minutes. It was Sayax, not Axel, which was my mistake. 2 hours 32 minutes, 10 seconds. But you know, it still really bugs me. Something about this just stinks." Meaning he's questioning whether Xemnas or anyone else is even telling the truth. 2 hours 35 minutes, 38 seconds. The entire dialogue is mimicking the plot of Birth by Sleep. Black aura even surrounds her to where she resembles Vanitas. Also, the reason he put 358 over 2 days as cutscenes instead of filler gameplay, not because he was lazy, but because it was misleading and unnecessary. I don't really know what that adds, but, well, you know, anyway, that was his reply. So, I took a look at that video, and I thought about it, and I looked over it all, and I said, wow, I appreciate the effort you've put into this time. Here's the problem. It doesn't actually prove anything. If anything, it just proves my side. 2 hours 15 minutes, it, not she, is a replica. Merely a puppet. Talking about the replica program, isn't it obvious? That alone proves my argument, but the next bit is where you've interestingly not kept up with the narrative, which you've been quite testy about. At 2 minutes, 16 minutes, 3 seconds, Sayax says, "No one at Castle Oblivion ever reported any instance where a replica formed its own identity. Do you concur, Axel?" Axel says, "Nothing." Get it? The only other replica the audience are aware of is the Riku replica, of course. According to Sayax here, Axel never reported him ever forming an identity for himself. But the dramatic irony here is that we know Axel was lying. The Riku replica was always on about his own identity, as we saw in Chain of Memories. I'm not even going to try and do an impression of that quote, I'm just going to post it.
That's right. I'm a phony. A fake. The way I look, the way I feel, everything I remember. I thought by finding some new strength, I could finally be someone who's not at all you. But nothing changes. I'm still just empty. Everything about me is borrowed. As long as you're around, I'll never be more than a shadow.
I can't do an impression of that quote. I could never do that justice. See? Replicas can form their own identities, contrary to what Axel reported. Even if that weren't the case, one replica isn't much to go on, so there's plenty of chance that Xion would display a change in expected parameters. Oh, I've got a lot to say. And then I went on to say, because my comment was a pretty long one here, when Axel complains, something about this just stinks. He's complaining about Xion dying, or at least returning to Sora. Not that he thinks Xemnas might be lying. How do I know that? Simple. He goes on to talk about Xion's decision. Everybody thinks they're right. They're gonna destroy you! He doesn't go on to mention Xemnas or anything about Xion. Ergo, his earlier complaint wasn't what you say it is. And at 2 hours, 35 minutes, 38 seconds, what you're seeing here is a similarity, not a connection. Yes, Xion is attempting to absorb Roxas, just like Vanitas attempted to absorb Ven. Do they have a connection? No. Why would they? It's like this. Xehanort and Vanitas' plans involved fusing Ven to create the Keyblade. Xion's existence was endangering Roxas and Sora due to the connection they share, so she decided to fight Roxas as a form of suicide. By being defeated by Roxas, Sora's memories were restored and Roxas' power would return. 2 similar goals, 2 different intentions, and 2 completely different characters. You've brought up something out of nothing. Oh, and that dark aura, that's darkness. I don't know if you've noticed, but it appears quite a bit in the Kingdom Hearts series. Xehanort, Terra, Riku Replica, and various other characters have been shown to have aura like that besides Vanitas and Xion. It's really nothing special and definitely not something that connects the two. If you can prove any of these cases to your side, then be my guest. Unfortunately, I'm not finished. Oh, mean business. And so, from the Secret Report of Days, I bring you an orgy of evidence of Xion being a replica. The lack of any sort of mention of Vanitas also shows a lack of support for your theory. There's the Day 7 Secret Report by Xemnas, the Day 25 Secret Report by Vexen, the Day 224 Secret Report by Axel, and the Day 255 Secret Report, again by Xemnas. And you can read them here, and you can read them in the games, and you can read them on various websites, so I won't bother reading them out to you, it's okay. But there will be links to read them all, and they'll be on the screen, so if you want to read them, then they're there. That's the evidence. Conclusion: Xion is clearly a replica with no connection to Vanitas. See what I did up there? I countered your points by explaining why they don't support your argument, and how they help mine. I then backed my side up with even more canon evidence to make my stance absolutely clear. Please, please tell me you're seeing the problem with your theory here. You don't have a case. If you do, then sure, present more evidence, preferably something concrete, and explain how it proves your argument. You can't just make up a random theory and claim the truth is a red herring to justify it. Your theory has no factual basis because it is factually incorrect. And you do realise that no other Kingdom Hearts fan agrees with you because of this, right? Please answer this. For your own sake, I beg you not to be ignorant. The good news is he did actually answer that question. The bad news is he didn't do so for another 40 comments or so. He then replied saying, "You have a serious misunderstanding of what an identity is. The Riku replica developed his own personality. His identity, however, didn't change. Identity and personality are too far estranged to make that distinction. It says even if Xion in one of the secret reports. If implies no definite statement. There's evidence that Xion was born in Castle Oblivion. To say he's going to take the Riku replica to Castle Oblivion implies they were both programmed elsewhere. Again, secret reports, which he actually denies later on, so... Also, to imply that it doesn't connect Vanitas and Xion would be to say that it happened for no reason, and is just a coincidence, meaning you ignore obvious narrative progression because it doesn't fit in your bubble of what you think evidence is." Yeah, Dem's fighting words. So I replied saying, "Oh, for the love of... You are trying my patience." Alright, identity. The Riku replica became self-aware, soul-seeking. Axel used that to goad him on to kill Zexion. Even without that scene, he still shows in numerous instances from his creation that he's his own person, not Riku. That is him forming his own identity. Or did you mean that by identity he's still the Riku replica? So what, do you want him to change his name? If so, don't be silly. I had a feeling you'd be this desperate. You want to know why Axel says even if in the secret reports? Because he's grasping the truth for the first time. Nobody else ever displays that level of uncertainty. Of course Axel is indefinite. He's been out of the loop and only just found out recently. Xemnas, Syax and Vexen are far less subtle. Oh, by the way, smooth work on outright ignoring over half my absolute proof that flat out denied your argument. You sure showed me. And that completely pointless last sentence? Good grief, you want to know where that elsewhere is? How about the obvious castle that never was and the world that never was? You know, the organisation HQ? How low are you willing to sink to convince yourself you're correct? That last sentence was not referring to his last paragraph in the previous comment, by the way, because you noticed the comment was edited. He added in that paragraph afterwards and I didn't see it until my next comment. Just admit it. You have no proof. You were wrong. I won't mock. I will hail you like a king if you be the bigger person and accept defeat. And don't you dare give me that you have no reason to do so, even if, which you aren't, but if you were, in the most radical of alternate universes, right, you have still utterly failed to argue your case. And once again, believe me, I mean all of this in the nicest possible way. Is it over, or are you going to get a law degree? I don't really like being upset. It's not a good thing. And then Mike Pena replied with, him becoming self-aware is not the point here. Xion was always self-aware, meaning she was always Xion and identified as her own existing entity. She had no idea she was even a replica in the beginning. She soon actually developed her own skill set and face. Granted, it wasn't her face. The Riku replica identified as a replica of Riku, which isn't his own identity. It was the identity he already existed as. Him having a different name was not the issue either, as that would be who he identifies as. The Riku replica never stole memories, and Xion was created before Sora was even in the capsule, which was around the time of Repliku. Ergo, she wasn't created to steal memories from Sora, as Roxas didn't have those memories yet. He was a flipping corpse at the beginning and everything, just like Ventus. If that were the case of her being born in the castle that never was, she would have the same feeling she had being in the castle as she did when she entered Castle Oblivion, where Ventus Sora's heart and Ventus's body lay. It was very specific on that point. The parallels exist as part of the narrative. There are parallels between Sora's group and Roxas's group that are exactly the same, which is explained. Just because this isn't explained yet doesn't mean I'm wrong. I'm explaining to you these things from a narrative point of view, which include dialogue and character development in the narrative progression. And Repliku might be the enemy in the next saga, which would be interesting to see, as it would give room for some conflict of Riku's past. Is it just me, or is he arguing on a what-if basis? Well, you know, that's up to you. You guys are the judges. That's why you're here, if you're here. So I replied saying, no, she wasn't. Initially, Xion was completely unaware of anything. Heck, you even contradicted yourself by saying she was always self-aware despite not knowing she was a replica. Xemnas says on more than one occasion that she wasn't supposed to develop a personality or a sense of identity, which was a pain when she did. The identity the Riku replica existed as and the one he took on for himself are one and the same. The issue is that he wasn't meant to take on any sort of identity in the first place. You're not listening, either to me or the games. Xion was meant to copy Roxas, not Sora. The memory absorption was an unexpected side effect. The purpose of the replica program was to take a piece of the Keyblade wielder's memory and copy it. The Riku replica wasn't created to copy anything. It was just a blank slate that had Riku's data imprinted on him. Xion was like the blank slate that didn't even get that. It was just a puppet made to copy Roxas. The first time Xion reveals her face and grows a personality is after Sora has reached Castle Oblivion, after Roxas has stopped acting like a zombie. The same time Sora starts to lose memories is the same time Xion develops a personality. This is not a coincidence. Just look at the Ultimania timeline. This is official, by the way. Day 27, Sora arrives at Castle Oblivion. Day 25, Roxas sees Xion's face for the first time. Xion reveals she can use the Keyblade. Riku arrives at Castle Oblivion around this time. Let me lay this out for you. Xion comes from Castle Oblivion, the source of the Replica project. Assumedly, Riku Replica comes from there too. Both were taken back to HQ. While Xion was falsely initiated into the organization, the Riku Replica was returned to Castle Oblivion sometime later when Vexen goes there. Xion has a major connection to Sora, obviously because of all his memories she contains, that's all. She has no connection to Ventus. Also, if you were correct, that would contradict all the information, revelations, and plot twists of the story inside and out of the main game, along with all the hard evidence I have already presented, meaning you ignore obvious narrative progression, because it doesn't fit in your bubble of what you think evidence is. Oh, using words against him. There should be a word for that. You just got reverse psychologied or something. Face it, your theory isn't true. You just desperately want it to be, so you'll twist the truth as much as it takes to make it seem right. But you're not. You're deluded. And I pity you. I mean that. I actually feel quite sorry for this guy. He's so lost. From my perspective. You know, you can argue differently, depending on what you think of his argument. Covering my bases. So Mike Pena said, to say that she has no connection to Ventus would be wrong. Roxas had no memories to copy, and he only had what he existed as in the realm of the nobodies. This is apparent in the way Axel asked him if he remembered anything from before, and he says, when I met you, you didn't even speak, you just stared blankly, or something along those lines. Though he had moves, skill sets, and the ability to wield the Keyblade, which he had before Sora was even in the chamber to bring back his memories, to the way they were. You cannot just copy someone's moves and become a Keyblade wielder. It doesn't work that way. Even if it's fake, you can't don a Keyblade the way she did. The only way I could make sense of it is if it would be that if she was created to copy Roxas's moves and garner a Keyblade that way, which again I don't think is possible, then the reason she exists the way she does is because after the whole incident of them gaining the memories of Sora, she was able to copy his conscience due to the fact that Vanitas still exists in Ventasora's heart, and by proxy, seriously, Ventasora? Why does he keep saying that? And by proxy, she became the vessel in which he puts himself back together. Or 2, Xemnas is lying about Xion's entire purpose, period. It would not make sense that she was made to copy his memories when he had none to begin with, as opposed to his moves, which are instinctive. That's like creating a robot to bioscript the brain of someone whose frontal temporal lobe has been wiped clean, but his motor cortex stays and works in conjunction with the rest of his brain to compensate. I don't think it would make someone a Keyblade wielder just to learn the moves. It doesn't make sense to me any other way. Wow, I notice I get better at reading when I'm reading long words. So, yeah, my next reply, this is my longest comment ever, like in this argument at least. I said, listen to yourself, you're just spouting off theories without a shred of evidence or proof. Alright, fine, the gloves come off. You cannot counter this one. Roxas is Sora's nobody. Normally he'd receive Sora's memories after being born, but that didn't happen due to Sora's short time as a Heartless. Reference 1, Secret Answer Report 12. But Sora's nobody, Roxas, has lost Sora's memories. This is likely because Sora's time as a Heartless was short, having recovered his heart and returned to his human form soon after leaving behind Roxas as nobody. However, when Sora entered Castle Oblivion and Namini messed up his memories, those lost memories went to Roxas, his nobody, the way they naturally should. Reference 2. Throughout 358 over 2 days, we see Roxas having flashes of Sora's memories and mentions these in his journal, day 52. But these pictures keep flashing through my head. Not all the time, just sometimes. Ever since I collapsed. Day 75. That reminds me. Those weird pictures flashed through my head again while I was in Agrabah. The guy in red I wrote about before. Has he been to Agrabah or something? And day 117. Those pictures started flashing through my head again on the mission. The boy in red. What's it all about? And day 172, pictures flash through the head of mine today's mission, Wonderland. Day 174, flash from behind in Neverland. Day 194, I forgot to ask Xion about the pictures in my head. And day 300. So much has happened lately I've been forgetting to write about these pictures in my head. Of course, Roxas didn't retain these memories because as soon as he received them, they were passed on to Xion, who was copying his memory stealing and taking the memories. Reference 3. From the words of Namini herself at 1 hour, 36 minutes, 15 seconds, same video. Sora's memories are escaping through Sora's nobody into a third person, and now they're starting to become a part of her. Additionally, she goes on to explain Xion's faceless/faced appearance. Did you know? Her face was blank at first, but now there is a face that is clearly visible. I think that's proof that she has entered Sora's memories. Now stop right there. I know exactly what you're thinking, and I'm going to shut this down right now. That's right, Namini said, I think. No certain terms, but that is not proof. She's still more certain of this than anything else. It supports all the other circumstances, and she knows the situation far better than you do. You can pick apart every little word if you want, but the evidence still stands against you. Stop being so desperate and just pay attention. It's getting really sad that you're incapable of even considering this. This is why Xion starts to develop a personality and face after spending time with Roxas around the same time Sora entered Castle Oblivion as cited above. This of course also coincides with Roxas receiving the memory flashes more and more the longer Sora spends in Castle Oblivion asleep. Xion on the other hand kept these memories and thought she was Sora for a time. Reference 4. When she runs into Axel in Castle Oblivion, she has Sora's memories from Chain of Memories running through her. 1 hour, 29 minutes, 50 seconds, same video. You can't fool me. We've met before, Axel. Right here in this castle. Yeah, my female voice acting sucks. Don't judge. However, the truth was revealed to her through Riku and Namini and the records of the organisation. Xion found out that she'd been absorbing memories from this process, and without them, Sora can't wake up. Reference 5. Riku fully explains the situation to Xion at 2 hours, 2 minutes, 42 seconds. This is the completely canon and final explanation. It's just, I remember things about the two of them, but I'm nothing more than a puppet. Something somebody created. So why would I have their memories? Xion's question was of course answered above with the whole Sora, Roxas, Xion situation explained earlier. Riku then says at 2 hours, 3 minutes, 7 seconds, Xion, your memories, they really belong to Sora. So you mean I'm like a part of him? When his memories were scattered, some of them found their way inside you. Now, Sora has been put to sleep so we can piece together his memory. Except, you can't because part of it is inside me. That means he can't wake up. Yeah, you got it. There. Done. Except not. There's more. After all of Sora's memories were absorbed by Xion, she had nothing left to take from Roxas but his own power. Reference 6. Ultimania Timeline again shows the series of events that prove Sora's memories restoration grinded to a halt just as Xion starts to take from Roxas. Day 300. The restoration of Sora's memories begins to come to a halt. Day 321. Roxas's power is absorbed by Xion and he is put in a bad shape. So following Sora's memory stoppage, Roxas started weakening while Xion's strength increased due to the connection between them and the memory filtering system they'd unintentionally been doing going too far. Reference 7. Everything. Seriously, everybody draws attention to it. Where do I begin? Let's start with Roxas's journal, day 321. I feel so tired, almost disconnected from my body. The dreams have gotten stranger. Now I wake up with water on my cheeks. I don't know how it got there, but I think there's something really wrong with me. Today I was teamed up with Xion. She seems to be in a lot better shape than me. We had ice cream together, something we hadn't done in a while. Next is the secret report of day 321, written by Xion. Axel's always helped me out, so I just assumed he would again. How long has he known about me? Maybe since long before we met in Castle Oblivion. But he told me to think for myself. I was so happy. But now as I get stronger, Roxas keeps getting weaker. I shouldn't exist anymore. They say nobodies were never meant to exist, but I'm the real affront. But before I'm gone, I want to help Roxas and Axel. Even just a little. I think the boy I saw today is the same Sora from my memories. Following this is the game itself at 1 hour, 56 minutes and 7 seconds. After Xion returned to the organization, Roxas grew weaker by the day. It was as though Xion continued to gain strength as Roxas lost it. Or the conversation between Axel and Xion at 1 hour, 58 minutes. Something's wrong with Roxas. You don't know why, do you? He says the Keyblade wears him out when he goes to use it. And then today, I was fighting the same way Roxas does. Axel's explanation for it is at 1 hour, 58 minutes, 38 seconds. This is the ultimate proof, and I know you hate this scene, as previous arguments told me before, because it completely proves you wrong, because I remember you would deny it and claim Axel was lying / didn't know the truth for sure. There's no complicated counter to that. You're simply wrong. Axel knows exactly what the case is and everything, and everyone agrees with him. You're a replica whose original purpose was to copy Roxas's powers. So if you see Roxas's powers getting weaker, while your powers are getting stronger, it could be that you're robbing Roxas of his powers more than you ought to be. I know I've made my point, but I'm just going to cite Xemnas at 1 hour 59 minutes 54 seconds anyway. Yes, it was not supposed to gain a mind of its own, nor become the person we see. Whether Xion takes from Roxas the rest of what he has to give, or whether he destroys her first and take back what is his, there is no change to our plans. No matter how, Sora's power will belong to us. Xemnas liked the fact that Sora couldn't wake up because of Xion, you know. My main point is, after Xion has Roxas kill her, he gets taken by Riku to Diz, where the events of Kingdom Hearts 2 start off. Let me ask you something. Why does Roxas only receive Sora's memories in the last week of Sora being asleep instead of getting them throughout days? The answer is obviously thanks to Xion absorbing them. When she was destroyed, that opened the floodgates and allowed Roxas to have all the memories pour into him for that final week, which is why he has memories of Sora's Kingdom Hearts 1 adventure throughout the prologue of Kingdom Hearts 2. I actually really like that about Xion's existence. It actually explains that little plot point. Now, as for Xion's Keyblade, actually you can copy it. It is of course just a second-hand Keyblade copied from Roxas's, and it doesn't hold a candle to the real thing, but it was a suitable substitute. I've already proved in previous conversations this, so I don't even need a reference, just a quote from Riku at, I don't know who you're supposed to be, but you can't fight fire with sparks. This Keyblade, it's a sham. Worthless. Also remember days 74 to 96 when Xion couldn't use the Keyblade? That's to be expected from a faulty fake, especially when Roxas waking up from his coma back in day 50 upset the balance of power between those two. And if you're still hung up on fake Keyblades not being a thing, then don't forget Recoded. Data Sora used a Data Keyblade for much of the game. As I recall, he gets a real one later, but the point is, he had a Data one. An imitation. Not the real thing, but with good enough functions to pass as one. Xion's isn't that different. And you just don't get what I mean by copy either. Xion wasn't doing a mirror act, she was the mirror. She was designed to automatically duplicate Roxas's powers just by being near him. None of this is debatable because I have given solid proof. You need to accept it. Do you get it now? Sora's memories, replica Xion, Roxas being a sort of conduit between them? This is the absolute truth backed up with all the proof of the entire series, and collectively on top of that, Vanitas never comes into it once. He's not even hinted. There's no reason for him to have anything to do with this, nor Ventus. I'm sure we could argue until the next sunrise about Vanitas and Ven's condition, but that's a lot more up in the air with less evidence to be sure of anything. Funnily enough, we argued up to the next 4 sunrises. One thing is obviously 100% certain though. Xion is definitely not Vanitas. I would love to put a nice big bow on this argument and say, the end. Instead he said, as you said, under no certain terms does anyone know for sure about the truth of Xion except Xemnas and the guy who created her that was conveniently killed. You're even taking quotes that support this. Okay. I've showed you quotes where Axel even begins to question the reason Xion exists. Sora is a special case of Heartless, because even after he was turned into a Heartless, he was still conscious in the process, implying his actual heart was not affected by the fact that he was turned into a Heartless. This is the main reason he was able to come back in a fully conscious manner with all of his memory and consciousness intact. Okay. It created a completely different entity connected by the heart. This nobody, Roxas, had absolutely no memory or function at the beginning of his inception. Before you say, "There's no proof of this," Xehanort stuck his consciousness in the heart of a younger vessel and his body disappeared. Now this allowed him to travel back in time, but in no way was his heart affected by the fact that Terranort was turned into a Heartless and a nobody. However, his body could not come back until they were both destroyed. Where is this all coming from? Same concept goes here, except instead of Ventus driving his consciousness into Sora, he drove his heart into him, meaning Ven had to actually be the one affected by Sora's turning, as Sora was still intact when it happened. I hope you guys understand this argument better than I do. The thing with the copied Keyblades is, all the data was there to begin with, which is the same as Replicu's Keyblade. Replicu doesn't have a Keyblade. My main argument was that the data wasn't there in Roxas, and you can't say he had Sora's memories as when they were changed in CO. Naminé only switched them around, as opposed to when she had to put him back to the chamber when you had to break the chain of memories and reset every link back to the way it was. This left Roxas as a proxy for Sora's memory after the fact that she put him in the chamber. Before that, he goes on and says, "We're just going to turn Sora into a tool for Organization 13, which didn't work out so well and was thwarted by Naminé herself. This was in Chain of Memories. Don't say your quotes can't be refuted when they could." How could they? Did he refute those? Guys, did he refute those? But you know what? I'm done arguing. You're like those people who thought that just because there was evidence for inflation in physics, it inherently proved that the Big Bang was more than just a theory. It was the only way inflation worked, and that the Big Bang proves that God, or deity, a sentient internal creator of the universe, doesn't exist. Excuse my non sequitur, but that's what you sound like to me. Yeah, because every single internet argument has to come back to religion at some point, am I right? Okay, so you heard the guy. He said, "I'm done arguing," but that's not true. That was not even remotely true. And the fact is, we're not even halfway through the argument, and yet we've already passed the 36-minute mark. I explained Kingdom Hearts 10 minutes ago in comparison to this whole argument. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, and I realize there is no way I'm going to fit this entire thing into one video. I won't make a second part, at least not initially. That's not my initial decision here. If you guys want me to, then yeah, I'll make a second part. I'll continue the argument in video form, but as of the moment, I think I'm just going to leave things here, because I argued back against his next comment, and he argued back against my comment, and so on and so forth, until we got to the point that you saw me at the start of this video saying, and it's up to you how far you take this. You don't have to take it any further than this. You don't have to take it far at all. And as I said, you didn't even have to watch the video, or I doubt many people are even still watching this. But if you are, just give me a hey, you know. Just let me know what you think about this argument, about who you think's right, who you think makes the stronger case in the argument. And please, if you want to, do get involved. We could definitely use more insight, because one-on-one is so tiresome at this point. He doesn't have anything new to say. I'm really running out of new things to say, and if you have any good insight, it'd be great to hear it. And yeah, I get it. So yeah, I know, I understand this video is terribly sad. I'm venting about an argument online, not even I'm basically trying to shove it onto you guys, and I'm sorry. And it's not going to happen again. This is not going to be a thing, I swear. This is just a quick thing to throw out here and hypothetically ask you, so what do you think of this? So yeah, for now, this is what it has. This is what it is, and how far you take this is up to you. How far you, it's over. This is the end of the video. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you for surviving this. It's a long argument, I understand. So, bye.